Minister, I contacted you some time ago about this case, and on the 7th of October there's going to be 29 residents, including 10 children, 6 family groups, 2 additional married couples who are Ukrainians fleeing the war, and they are living in a former commercial building in the Blackrock Stillorgan area. They've been there since Christmas 2022. The children are at school. Many of the adults, if not most, are working. They're integrated into the community. The community want them to stay. The person who owns the property wants them to stay, and yet it seems your department is insisting they leave. Can we not do something about this? It makes no sense to evict these people when they're integrated into the community.
Thanks, Deputy. Look, thanks for your own engagement with me about this, and I know other deputies and ministers in the constituency have been on to me as well. The department made a decision to end its contract for accommodation of Ukrainians in this particular property in accordance with contractual terms. My department has been in direct contact with this provider, and we've advised the provider that they're free to continue to provide accommodation to the Ukrainians living there at the moment on a private basis if they wish to do that, and the Ukrainians living there can avail of existing state supports like RET supplement in order to do that. What we've said here is that in this particular situation, usually when Ukrainians leave state-provided accommodation, their entitlement to state-provided accommodation ends. In this particular situation, looking to facilitate the families in question, we've said we'll allow them to try and make those private arrangements with the provider. If that doesn't work out, they have an entitlement to come back into the state system, and we look to provide them with accommodation elsewhere. So, Deputy, I think we're trying to do our best to be as fair here in this particular situation. We do have, I suppose, obligations in terms of ensuring the contracts that we've signed are fully set down. There was a concern on the contract here, and it's for that basis that the department is ending the contract. But we're also looking to facilitate the Ukrainians, the families who are living in this particular location, and that's why we've put in place the particular measures I set out there.
Okay, but there's a deadline looming, and what's not clear to the community, people supporting the residents and the residents themselves, and what are we doing about that deadline, because it's next Monday. And I mean, you know, it's very instructive, really, who these residents are in terms of the employment they're doing. One is a pharmacist assistant, one is a lab worker in UCD, one is a construction worker, one is a carpenter, and one is a carer for elderly people, one is a school caretaker and cleaner, one is a kitchen porter, one is a cashier and shop assistant, one is a cleaner with a contract cleaning company, one is a kitchen worker, truck driver, shop assistant, florist. These are people who are working, helping our communities, helping us fill gaps in, where there's desperate shortages of workers. There's kids are in school, they're playing for the local sports clubs, and they don't know what's happening next week, right? The owner of the property doesn't understand. The place has fire certification. They're not taking from the private rental market because it's a former commercial building. So this won't be used for anything else in terms of helping people with the housing crisis. So they need help to stay where they want to stay, where the community want them to stay, where the owner of the property wants them to stay, and where they're contributing to the local community. Can you give them some sort of certainty that they don't have to get out next week?
Thanks very much. So what I'd advise, Deputy, is that each of those families contact the Ukrainian unit in my department, that they indicate that they wish to stay in this particular location. They indicate that they're going to look to have a private arrangement with the provider here. And we'll note that no one will be forcibly moved if that's what the approach they wish to take. If they wish to take up the offer of alternative accommodation from my department, they can still do that as well. But we'll note specifically that if the private arrangement falls through for any reason, they will be able to rejoin the state-provided accommodation. So I think it's a good compromise in this particular situation.
Okay, well, I mean, that sounds positive. And I'll relay back what you're saying, because it would certainly cause, I mean, why bring problems upon yourself, put extra pressure on yourself, or discommode these people and the local community when it is absolutely not necessary? So hopefully that's a solution. But I mean, I know that in terms of like contacting social protection about the rent supplement, they haven't still got, that hasn't been fully processed. Maybe you could do something about that. I'm not sure what the compliance issues were. I mean, the owner of the property said they were more than willing to engage, so I'm not really sure what the compliance issues, neither is the owner of the property, because it has fire certification. So there's unanswered questions. I take the positive from what you're saying, and I'll tell them to contact the unit that you have described. But can I take it from this that there isn't a looming deadline of the 7th, and that if we can work something out here, that they will be able to stay where they are?
Deputy.
Yeah, we're not looking to impose a looming deadline if these families are looking to make a private arrangement in this particular location. But Deputy, I suppose just if we can absolutely, I hope I've addressed this particular location, but we can step back. As you know, we contracted a huge amount of accommodation around the country to meet the emergency needs of Ukrainians. There was about maybe 67,000 in state-owned accommodation at one stage. That's decreased very significantly. We are going to have to consolidate that range of accommodation. We're going to have to consolidate it where there are contractual issues, but we're also going to have to consolidate it in terms of scale, because we have empty beds, and I don't think anyone would agree the state should be paying for empty beds. And that consolidation is going to require moves, and some of them are going to be hard. And that's something that I have to recognise in terms of there's €2 billion put aside for refugee accommodation next year. That's absolutely right, but I don't think anyone here would agree that we would be paying for empty beds in hotels or anything like that, nor should we be holding beds from the tourism sector as well. And just trying to get that right between
Thank you, Minister.
No, absolutely,
Deputy Minister, we'll move on. Question
trying to get
number
the
11.
balance right between the lived
people are here to
experience you
take their
talked
questions.
about.
The time is up.